Good morning, family. This is Ricky, and welcome to Hope for Today. Before the win comes, the one comes. Before the win comes, the one comes. Before you get a W-I-N, God first calls you to an O-N-E. He calls us to be one before we get it one. That's essentially the lesson I want to bring to you today. And it comes from King Solomon, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 12, whereby Solomon is calling each and every last one of us as Christ followers to kind of move away from a life of isolation and solitude to a life of togetherness and community. Verse 12, he puts it this way: and though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. And then he says this: a threefold cord is not quickly broken. I love the metaphor here. You've probably heard it at weddings here and there. A threefold cord is really broken. And preachers used to use this at weddings to say, husband and wife and God. Nothing can stop that. And I think it's the same thing for our lives. You plus me and God, that's a team that no one can win against. And the whole idea is that you should remember that as a Christ follower, one of the best contributions you can make to the kingdom of God is a spirit and a heart and a life that embraces unity. A spirit, a heart, and a life that embraces unity. The whole idea is this: we can get way more done if we're willing to take a little bit off of me to make sure that we put a little bit more on us. That's the whole idea of what Solomon's arguing in the passage, that one can only go so far, two can only go so far. But man, when we all come together, as the songwriter said, what a day of rejoicing that will be. What does your spirit of unity look like in your life? How well at oneness with others? Maybe it's oneness in your marriage. Maybe it's a sense of togetherness with your kids, a sense of oneness with your church that God's called you to in this season. What does it mean for you to humble yourself and be one? Ricky, what's the keys? I'm glad you asked. I think if you want unity, it means that at the end of the day, you got to be willing to have a lesser you, so there might be a greater us. Now, that flies in the face of a culture, right, that says, do you, Bo, do you? I heard a preacher the other day say that the road paved to hell will be a lot of t-shirts that read, just do you. I think at the end of the day, God calls us away from isolation and solitude to embrace what he's doing with his kingdom community. And the only way you do that is to embrace this idea that, yes, there's going to be lesser me for the sake of a greater us. Michael Jordan, when he was struggling to win a championship, they changed coaches and brought Phil Jackson in. Phil forces Mike to watch hours and hours of film where Mike can see that there are so many moments where he's dribbling down the lane for a shot, double teamed, and failing to pass to a wide open Bill Cartwright. Same thing on the wing. He'd have a three, but he'd have three defenders against him. And here John Paxson is on the corner. Phil Jackson says, Mike, you'll start to win if you pass the ball. So after that, Michael Jordan starts passing the ball. And we hear about people like Bill Cartwright and Horace Grant and B.J. Armstrong on their way to 3 championships. Mike temporarily kind of, has to deal with some stuff for a couple of years, plays minor league baseball, comes back still with the same method of passing the ball on their way to 3 more championships, all because a superstar decided to just be a star and make everybody else super with him. And they won the game. Where in your life is God saying, you know what? I want you to win. And I'd rather you score 30 points and win than score 60 points by yourself. Pass the ball. Before we win, we must be one. Teamwork makes the dream work. That's all for today, y'all. I'll see you next time.